Feu Follet, translated as A Fire Within, is a 1963 masterpiece. Louis Malle, the director of the film, he also adapted the book and created one of the most sublimely beautiful moving films. Maurice Ronet gives one of the finest performances in cinema history with his careful and intense study of this depressed alcoholic. Rarely does a film capture and portray the closeness of human relationships so well. In fact, I can't think of any other film that has done it so well. So the point of this review is to help investigate how I would change the film now to make it a better film. So this is a spoilers alert. If you haven't seen it, go see it and come back and see what you think. So what would I change about this film? From a technical viewpoint, it's flawless. Not only flawless, it's sublime. One of the greatest French New Wave films you can watch. When he goes to see his friends, I'd like to see it extended a lot more. The interaction between him and the other characters is so fascinating. We learn a lot about him, but also about how his mental state is now. But sometimes it seems so fleeting. I would like to see it explored further, with longer discussions, more wanderings around the city. It's such a delight to see. Is the film representing people that had post-war idealism and it's kind of fallen flat on its feet? Maybe they could have shown Alan's character with highs and lows more. Maybe that's a result of the medicine or the treatment or of his mental state. But it would have been good to have sometimes the highs and lows of optimism and depression. This would have shown a real confliction in his mind about the optimism of staying alive and the defeatism of suicide. I feel really sad and disappointed, but not disappointed in the film. So this is an interesting point. But is it a representation of the disappointment we find with our own self-reflection upon depression and how we deal with it? So the film's message is a difficult one. And would I want to change it? Audiences at the time when this film was made in the 60s and now find it depressing and difficult to watch, and maybe why it isn't so more famous. So I don't think I'd want to change the message given out from this film. It's a difficult one and compromising, but it's necessary. Maybe they wanted to represent that people who suffer with addiction and depression don't really see a way out, and they feel like there's no hope at all. And that represents the character completely in this film. It doesn't show really any signs of optimism. The whole film is just a message of saying goodbye. A lot of the script in this film when he's talking to his friends is quite existentialist and full of philosophy. I wouldn't want to change that because it's so beautiful and poetic as they just walk around the Parisian streets. It's almost romantic in itself. The soundtrack is a single piano piece by Eric Satie. It's so simple, yet so heartbreaking. You just can't wait for it to be in the film again, but I'm glad they didn't overuse it. So I wanted to review this film in hindsight, not to criticise it, but to explore the message that I find quite difficult to deal with. Especially in the 1960s, I'm assuming mental health issues weren't really explored or in the open. Over time, this has become more overt and acceptable to talk about. Feu Follet has a difficult message to end with. You feel disappointed that he's died, but is it a representation of the disappointment we find with our own self-reflection upon depression and how we deal with it? So in summary, what would I change about this film? I would like it to be longer, with the interactions with his friends and the characters. Maybe even adding 30 or 40 minutes would be really good. From a technical point of view, I wouldn't change a thing. It's one of the most beautiful cinematic films to watch. And I do wish that he didn't kill himself at the end. But at the same time, I know what the story is trying to convey. That depression and addiction isn't easy to come out of, and it does give you a sense of hopelessness. But for me, the end of the film makes me want to live my life more. And so that's a good thing.